This is how to look for the looker. If you don't know how to look for the looker or look for the one who is looking, there's some easy things that we can bring into our understanding to make that meditation instruction much more accessible. Traditionally, this meditation instruction is coming out of Tibetan Buddhism. The meditators who are applying this instruction are monks who've been meditating for years. So they already have a very strong base knowledge of how to meditate. But for us who haven't been meditating for as long as these monks, it can be quite frustrating to hear this instruction because we fundamentally just don't know what we're doing. The monks who practice this instruction are experiencing a fundamental shift in their being. We're normally just thinking about things and getting very frustrated that we don't understand the instruction. It can be helpful just knowing that we're not alone in our frustration. The conundrum we're falling into here is that what we're practicing is just more conceptual thinking. The answer to find the one who is looking or looking for the one that is looking, to do that meditation instruction correctly does not mean to continue analytically trying to figure it out. So when you meditate to look for the one who is looking, the answer is a non-conceptual realization. If our only approach to find the one who is looking is conceptual and analytical, we need to start trying something different. We have to let go of the thinking mind. So how do you let go of the thinking mind? When you meditate, it's possible to find a space of meditative stillness. In meditative stillness, we're very aware of our changing sensations and passing thoughts, but we're not attached to them or lost in them. Here we have an awareness of our mind which we don't usually have in our day-to-day lives when we're lost in thought, living in the world completely identified with our thoughts. That is the false premise we're trying to see through. And if we bring that premise into our meditation, we're unlikely to escape it. With meditative stillness, where we become non-judgmentally observant of our sensation and thoughts, we're more likely to notice something about the underlying nature of our conscious experience, moving closer to insight. How to look for the looker doesn't have a conceptual answer, it's an experiential answer. We have to experience the answer, and you can't experience the answer as long as you're identified with thought. Usually when we operate and move around in the world, we have this sense of duality. We live very much in a conceptual subject-object world. We feel as though we exist within our bodies, probably, perhaps, behind our eyes in our head. So if someone else walks into the room right now, I very much feel as though they're separate from me. They're over there and I'm over here. But on an experiential level, we can shift our understanding here. When we're investigating the look for the looker or look for the one who's looking, we're dissolving this duality between the experience of the self and the other person walking into the room. Because yes, conceptually, we're separate. They've got their own life, I've got my own life. But as a matter of experience, the sensation of them entering the room, that is my experience. A thought experiment to demonstrate this point is to imagine two separate people in a room and shift between the perspectives. Ask yourself, what does this person see and what does this person see? Try to remain open and see if you can acknowledge or discover that each individual has their own experiential reality. Everything you experience or know in your life may tell you something about an external world out there, but it's most directly your experience. When you're going between these two people in the room, put yourself in the shoes of one of those people. They're looking out at another person who they normally think is external to them, and then we shift perspective, that other person seems external to them, and therefore we're kind of confronted with this bizarre conclusion that other person in the room they're considering to be separate to them very much belongs intimately to them, because they're the only one with that perspective. That perspective is their experience. Switch over, oh, that person is actually my experience. So with this example, we're approaching the dissolution of that subject-object divide, dissolving the separation between the self and other. When we look for the one who is looking, we don't want another distant answer. We want to observe what it's like to be us in the first moment of being us, to realize that all we ever know or experience is an extension of us. So when we practice non-duality, non-dual awareness, non-dual presence. The key points that will move us forward with the looking for the looker instruction is to identify, first of all, this comes from a very traditional context. So if we're having frustration, that's totally expected because most people are advanced meditation practitioners if they're using this instruction. The second piece is to realize that there's a conceptual shift. We usually take things dualistically. We think they're outside of ourselves, but we can have this academic understanding that things are also an extension of our conscious experience. We can't really escape the sphere of our conscious experience. It's just a continuation of ourselves. And then the third piece is, once we know this, coming up with a conceptual answer to looking for the looker, that's never going to help us. What we need to practice to get into a state where that divide dissolves is calming our mind in our sense. So what we can do is we can sit in a sort of meditative stillness, non-judgmentally observe our sensations and thoughts that pass by. We can use the looking for the looker instruction as a sort of contraction, just in case we're fading out and we're not noticing anything, to remain in that stillness until we observe and realize that everything we're experiencing is just formless experience. It's non-dual present awareness. That's the nature of being us. And there is a significant shift that we can identify and get good at realizing there. The important part is not to keep trying to find an analytical answer. The important part is to rest, observe presently without distraction, without being identified to trying to figure something out. Then that non-dual reality will just shine through, because that's the way things are. It's the way things are right now if we could just stop being lost in thought or not noticing anything about our experience. The realization of non-duality is unlikely to come overnight or in one instant. It could, but it's unlikely. You're going to need to practice and practice and practice. Practicing looking for the looker can lead to a profound spiritual, life transformational shift. It can lead to a literal shift in the way that you experience everything. You can align to the nature of who you actually are, not who you think you are. So keep practicing, and remember that the monks who gave these instructions practiced for decades. And what improved their meditation was experience of more meditation. So what we need to do is meditate as much as we can.
If Sonam Hani has helped you, please consider supporting for the benefit of others. Establishing a base engagement is the biggest hurdle for new ideas.